Hello, my name is Cheryl Brown, and I'm a licensed family marriage therapist. And the topic that I will be covering today is a family that rises above stress. Let me say it again, a family that rises above stress. Repeat after me. My family rises above stress. And let the truth be told, stress have an impact on all of our lives at one time or another. May it be financial hardship, may it be stress on the job, or your children have stressful situations taking place in their life, or just life in general, and all that it entails can be stressful at times. But I like to say, no one is exempt from stress or stressful situations, but no one has to be controlled by it. There's a difference between the two. And so what I would like to talk about today is when stressful situations take place, it may not only affect you, but it can affect your family as a whole. So the purpose of this session is threefold. One, I want to increase your awareness regarding what stress is and the impact that it can have on one's body, mind, and emotion. So I want to increase your awareness regarding what stress is and the negative impact it can have on one's body, one's mind, and emotions. Number two, I want to explore through assessment. I'm going to have you do an assessment. I want to explore the family history, the inherited behaviors and or triggers that occur as a result of a stressful situation. And number three, I want to look at practical techniques to disconnect from stress in order to maintain the mental and emotional harmony of the family as a whole. So let's do number one, increase your awareness regarding what stress is and the impact that it can have on one's body, one's mind, and emotion. Number one, what is stress? What is stress? Stress is a feeling of emotional and mental diseasement. Let me say it again. Stress is a feeling of a mental and emotional diseasement. Stress is being overwhelmed with pressure to the point that an individual or the family mental and emotional rhythmic flow is offbeat. I want everybody kind of rock like this. Now things are going smooth in the family and things are operating, everybody walking in love, laughing and talking. But when a stressful situation takes place, that can take you off beat. It can mess up the rhythmic flow of the family, and it can cause problems in the relationship, cause problems in the interaction amongst the family members when stress is not controlled, but stress is controlling the family. And so therefore causing disturbance in the overall well-being of the family, okay? So in other words, stress snatch, if it's not controlled, if you don't disconnect with stress, if you allow stress to do what it wants to do, stress can snatch control of the mind and the emotions and confine it to only think about the problems. Ooh, let me say it again. If stress is not controlled, if stress is allowed to control your family, stress can snatch the control away from you so that you no longer have control of your mind and your emotions, and it's confined to only think about the problems. Have you ever been in that situation before? You've been in a stressful situation and you can only think about the problem. Your emotions are surrounding that problem. And let me explain something to you. See, the mind and the emotion, especially the mind doesn't know the difference between real or not real. That's why we provide our mind with information. And so therefore, when stress comes in and stress try to control your mind to make it like, okay, this is what we think about, this is how it's going to be. And you lose control over your mind because your mind is thinking about it 24/7. Okay. Let me give you an example. When you are sleeping at night and when you wake up from a dream, the dream is not even true, but your mind think that dream is true, and it takes time for it to process. That's why you have to be careful what you allow in your ear gate and what you see through your eye gate, because your mind becomes attracted to that. So when a stressful situation has to take place, you have to address it in a timely manner, not in a rush, but a timely manner. And you have to reprogram your mind to attack the stressful situation rather than the stressful situation attract attacking you. Emotions are real. I like to say emotions are real, but they're not intelligent. Your emotions were designed to let you know to incorporate, designed to help incorporate to understand life. So if someone loses a loved one and you feel sad, emotions are letting you know that this is real, but that it has to be to a point that you have to be in front of your emotions, not behind your emotions, because your emotions do not know how to lead you. Dr. Carolyn Leaf is a neuroscientist, and she has a book called Who Switched My Brain Off. And she was talking about not only does your mind, it has memory, it has the memory component to it, but also the cells of your body has memories. And what happened is that, say for instance you have a stressful situation and it brings forth the negative emotions, then not only are those emotions affecting the mind, but it's affecting the cells of the body. And that's called a body mind link. And what happened is when you have a stressful situation and it is releasing negativity, negative emotions, sad, depression, or taking place, then what it does, then it will release a chemical in the body that can make the not only the brain toxic, but it also can make the body toxic. So you see why it's so important that not to settle for being stressed out, because it has a negative impact not only on the body, but also the mind and the emotions. Well, let's do something for a moment. As a therapist, but when I see a client, we normally do an assessment. And when I do this assessment, I do a lot of history about the family, how many members in your family, and so forth, with the mental history of the family, the emotional history of the family. And I do all this to make my decision of what the diagnosis, and then I might have other diagnoses, and I'll eventually rule out the diagnosis just to get to that primary diagnosis. But what I'm going to do, I just want you to think about for a moment. I want you to be the expert of yourself. No one knows you better than yourself. And we're going to do a brief assessment. And I want you to think about it from a family aspect, okay? Individually, but as a family aspect based upon the questions that I'm going to ask you. It says stress. Now, if we can categorize stress and think about your families, is stress your family best friend? That means that your family's always stressed out, and stress always come into the family meetings. Stress always come in when you guys are having dinner together. If stress is always present in your family, then stress is your best friend. Or stress is associates. Sometimes the families can be stressed out, or sometimes the family's not stressed out. Or is it both? Is it both? Or is it one or the other, or is it both? Okay. The first question during this assessment: is stress your best friend? Meaning, have your family become accustomed being stressed out? Now you say, how could that be? Is your family become, when something takes place, it affects the whole family. It affects the cat, the dog, the fish. Everybody is stressed out. The harmony of the family has been diluted both mentally and emotionally. So if stress becomes your best friend, that is a norm for your family to be stressed out when a challenge or a situation takes place? Or is it associates? Sometimes the family is stressed out based upon what the situation is, and sometimes they're not stressed out. Number two, what are the stress patterns? What are the stress patterns of your family? These stress patterns, parents or the adult of the family, I want you to look back in your family history. Where did you get was it generational transmission? That means it was passed on from one generation to the next. Did you see your mother stressed out? Did you see your father stressed out? Your grandmother stressed out? Who was the person that yelled and screamed when they were stressed out, or somebody just held it in? They wouldn't talk to anybody. They isolated themselves from each other. And what pattern has been passed on to your family that you've seen or taken place through your children? Like I always say before, is that my mom would handle stress a certain way that I saw her growing up. And then I found myself as an adult that I would handle it that same way. Now I have made the adjustments, but it was passed down from one generation to another. So that's very important as a family. What are the stress patterns? What are the patterns you see in your family? Were they passed down from one generation to another, or were they based upon experience? When you face a stressful situation in the family or as an individual, is this the way that you handle stress in the past based upon experience, or is it both? Is it generational, or is it based on past experience? Now, here's the next one. When you are stressed out, or is when the family's stressed out as a whole, who suffers the most? Is it a certain family member, or does all the family members suffer? Is it just one person? Do you don't take it out on your family, but you bring it on to work? Who suffers the most when you're stressed out? Who suffers the most when the family is stressed out? And that is very important. So number one, what are the stress? Number one, we said, is stress the best friend of the family because it's normal for you guys to be stressed out in the family? Or is an associate? Sometimes you guys are stressed out, the family's stressed out, and sometimes you're not. Two, what are the patterns? Are there generational patterns that were learned from a generation before and it was brought into the family, or you're passing on to your children? Or is it acquired through past experience? When I was stressed out before, this is how I handled the situation. It seemed to work, and I've been using it over and over again. And when you are stressed out, leaders of the household, the mother and father, who suffers? Or if the whole family is stressed out, who's suffering the most based upon this stressful moment that has taken place? Now, the next thing I want to talk about is, how do you know? Then that's good right here. This is the last one. How do you know that your family is stressed out? How do you know that what are the signs that your family is stressed out? Do everybody go in their own room so there's isolation? No one is talking to each other. Everybody's mad at each other. How do you know? Is there a lot of screaming taking place? Everybody's raising their voice. How do you know that you and your family are stressed out? See, that is so important. Families, you have to understand each other and how you operate in order to strengthen the family structure. You have to know what's the mental movie of your family, what's the emotional movie, what emotion drives your family. What do your family think about throughout the day? What words do you have to strengthen the identity of your family? It is so important because this is what increases family interaction and relationship. And when stress takes place, if you're not in the right position mentally and emotionally, if your family is not tightened together, then stress will control your family. Stress will go for the ride as long as it can until you attack stress, until you get stress under control and you guys are able to move forward. So what are some of the signs? How do you know that the family's stressed out? Mothers or fathers, do you have a headache? Do you have a backache? Do you have high blood pressure? Do the children start acting out? That's how we could tell the family is stressed out or they're facing a challenge in the family. So what are some of the triggers? What are some of the signs that the family is stressed out? And that is very important that you need to know about. Now, here's another thing that I like to ask you is that when stress right here, how do you know if stress disturbs your peace right here? Listen to this carefully. Stress can disturb your peace. Stress can affect your health. Stress can affect your decisions. Stress can cause you to distance yourself from others. Let me say it again. Stress can disturb the peace of the family. Stress can disturb the health of the family because the family can be healthy or unhealthy. The family can be toxic or it can have toxicity within the family. Stress can affect the decisions of the family. Stress can cause distance. You can social isolate each other from each other, that you're not talking, you're not close and tight. And so what have you noticed in your family when stress take place? There's no peace. The family's not healthy like it normally is healthy. You make bad decisions, or it can cause a decision, and it can cause distance amongst the family. And let me ask you this question: which one is the most important for you and your family? Maintaining the peace, maintaining the health, making the right decisions, or staying close knit when a stressful situation is take place, or all of them. Think about that for a moment, because that is so important, because stress can cause division in the family. That's the bottom line. And when there's no peace, then the family cannot operate with how they need to. The family can't focus on what they need to do. All right. Now, the time that I have remaining, let's talk about the practical techniques to disconnect from stress. What can I do, Cheryl? What can I do? What's some simple techniques or practical techniques that I can do that disconnect from stress in order to maintain the emotional and mental rhythmic flow? Well, I'm glad you asked. Number one, never see stress as a family member. Write that down if you have a piece of paper. Never see stress as a family member. Never see stress as a family member or a best friend, but rather as an intruder that is trying to disrupt the family unit emotionally, mentally, verbally, behaviorally, and socially, which weakens the relationship and the interaction amongst the family members. So that's number one. Never see stress as a family member. You always see stress as an outsider that's trying to come in to disturb the family, and we're going to take care of this, because stress is trying to come in and it's trying to snatch the control away from the mother and father, snatch the control away from the family being happy and working as a team. And we want to maintain control. That's the key thing. You want to maintain control even in a stressful situation, because no one is exempt from being stressed or facing a stressful situation, but you definitely do not have to be controlled by it. Number two, having family meetings. Having family meetings to discuss the intruder. That is so important. You're going to gather everybody together and say, look, we're going to talk about this stress. We're going to talk about this challenge that is taking place and the negative impact that is having on our family. And especially when your children are getting older, then they'll be able to talk more and give their input. Well, Dad, I don't like how that you distance yourself from us when we're facing a challenge in our life, because see, it impacts everybody, parents, single parents. It affects everybody. So you want their input so they know what to do. You can look, if I'm being stressed out or something's taking place, then you let them know so they know how to contribute as a family, because the whole thing is maintaining the family unit. So having family meetings is very important. We need to, as a family, let me give an example. How are we thinking as a family when we're stressed out? And are we thinking to maintain the stress? Or are we thinking opposite? Are we going to think other things and in order to remove that thought from our mind so we can think clearly of what we need to do? Number three is another practical technique what I love is laughter. Laughter is very important when you're going through a stressful situation. Laughter is a buffer. And what it does is that when you're facing a situation, and laughter is so important because it allows you to set and reset your mind and your emotions so you can think clearly and make the right decisions. You know, I never forgot the time and situation in my life. I was going through a very stressful situation. I was looking out the window. I was washing dishes. And, and my mind was just bombarded about this situation. And I got a call from my cousin, which is my friend, Elbert, and he called me. And we were just talking. He had me just laughing. I had tears in my eyes. And watch, I forgot about the challenge. I forgot about the stressful situation and allow my mind and emotions to rest. Everybody take your hand like this, to rest. When you laugh, do it again. It causes your mind and emotions to rest. You need to take a break. Someone in the audience need to take a break from this stressful situation, this challenge, because it's just been controlling your mind and your emotions. It's been dictating to your family, but you need to take a rest. And I forgot about it. I was able to breathe, and then I was able to think clearly about the situation and what to do. So laughter is a shield. Laughter is a buffer. Laughter is like a lifeguard and a save you when you feel like you're drowning. And then number three, and next one is setting boundaries. That's so important. I always tell people there's individual boundaries that you need to set, but you also have to have boundaries as a family. Number one is a mental boundary. What I mean about that is, how's your family thinking when a challenge or a situation or a stressful situation is taking place? How is your family thinking? Do you let it that stressful situation bombard your mind all day long, and it's renting space in your mind that's not even paying a rent? Well, that is not good. You have to have mental boundaries. That means you have to determine what you're going to allow in your mind and what you're not going to allow in your mind. And I like to say this, there's a shift that takes place. So if the stressful situation is always constantly bombarding your mind, then you have to go forth with words. See, words are like arrows that lead you in the direction that you need to go. Stress is like arrows that lead you in the direction that you need to go. So say, for instance, that you're thinking about a stressful situation. All of a sudden you said you and your family are going to put it on the refrigerator. You're going to put it in the bathroom, where the family members may go all the time. And we're going to say we're going to have love. That's the key word. And when a stressful situation take place, everybody know to say love. And when you're in the car and something happens, everybody want to say love, love. And it gives, the mind has to have time to shift. The mind shift off the stressful situation and it's replaced with love, so you guys can continue on as a family unit, strong and healthy. Words will replace negative thoughts. It has to be a shift that takes place from a negative to a positive, so you can continue on doing what you need to do as a family. Then there is a relational boundary. Relational boundaries means maintaining the identity of the family. Never let a challenge, never let a stressful situation come in and tear down the identity of the family. The identity of the family is built upon words, it's built upon the track record of a family. If we've gone through this challenge before we made it through, that we're going to go through the next challenge and we're going to make it through this. It's a track record, it's a word, it's history, it's love. All these components make up a family identity, with is the representation of the family. So you have these relations, and so you never allow stress, you never allow a challenge to come in and cover up that family identity. But what you do is you maintain your identity through love, through words, through strength, working together as a team, so that stress will not cover up your identity, but you'll be able to go forward. And then there's personal space boundary, but I'm going to call it family space boundaries. When a stressful situation comes and take place, don't stop doing your family activities. I like to say this, whatever your family likes to do, if it's hiking or going for a walk or whatever, go for the walk, laugh and talk and have a good time, but don't talk about the stressful situation. Now, if you and the family are going to talk about the stressful situation, get back in the car, go home and talk about it, but don't spoil that personal space, because that's the time of you serving yourself laughter. That's your time of serving yourself enjoyment and love. So we have mental space boundary, relational boundary, and personal space boundaries. The next one that I want to talk about is being flexible. That is so important. Being flexible, that is in part of being emotionally mature. Being emotionally mature. That means that when stressful situations take place, don't just have a plan A, and we're going to stick to plan A. And if plan A is not working, then leaders of the home have a plan B and C. Because bottom line is this, is that you don't know everything. So have another plan. Plan A. If A is not working, have plan B and C. And it doesn't take away from your being a leader. It's that you're using wisdom for the sake of your family. So learn how to be flexible during a stressful situation. If it's not working, I got a plan B and C. The bottom line is, I refuse to allow stress to take away the control from my family, that we cannot enjoy each other and that we cannot be a strong family unit. And I refuse to allow me to prevent me from moving forward. All right. And then I would like to talk about is, how do you make a wise decision versus emotional decision? Listen to me carefully. When you're going through a distressful situation, stress wants you to make a decision just like this, just like this. Never rush into making decision when you're stressed out, because the decision you make will become your reality. So what do you do? How do you make make a successful decision or a wise decision versus an emotional decision. Number one, get accurate knowledge about the situation. Do your homework. Get accurate knowledge about the situation, what has taken place. Find somebody else who's going through what you went through and get some information about what's taking place. And you'll find that it brings so much ease. Like, boy, they went through that before, and I'm not the only one. You look, you're not the only one that's going through. There's somebody around this world that's going through what you're going through. Just do your research so you can get ease so you know what to do and how to move forward. Number two, get wisdom and wise counseling from people who have been there and came out successfully. Who has been there and came out successfully. Don't get wisdom from people who haven't made it through. Well, they didn't make it through. Don't look at them. You look at the people who have made it through, who have gone what you have gone through, what you've gone through, and made it through successfully. And number three, understand the process. Understand the process necessary to achieve the desired goal and go through the process. Listen to me carefully. Do not fear stress. Whatever the challenge is, don't fear the challenge. Face the challenge, go through the process so you can come out wise as a family and you gain more wisdom, because you can gain more wisdom. Let me say it again, so you can gain more wisdom. And finally, have a healthy support system. That is so important. No family, no individual were designed to be alone when they're going through a challenge. You have three types of friends in your life, or three types of friends that you have in your family. One that undergirds you, one that uplifts you, and one that exposes you. That means they go in and show that, look, this is what you need to work on, and this will make you a better person as you're going through this stressful situation. So once again, your family was designed to rise above stress and not be underneath stress.